Renowned South Africa's playwright Mbongeni Ngema is currently in studio working on an album, but for now he has released a single titled AmaNazaretha. Now this album speaks to his religious belief and upbringing, and once the lockdown is over, he's planning on a tour to promote this album. This morning he joins us here on the program via Skype, and we welcome the gentleman. Mr. Ngema, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great, Mr. Ngema. Great to have you on this show this morning. We are well in level 4 of the lockdown. What has been your experiences like so far as an artist during this period?
It's been a bit frustrating, but one has been able to work from home. Fortunately, I can be able to be productive at home and imagine how it would be like to be out there and work with my fellow artists. But I've just, we're releasing digitally this album, which I worked on a few years ago. We have a single out, AmaNazaretha, and we shall be releasing the entire album in due course.
When you say that you've been working on this album since a few years ago, what is currently been delaying you?
We worked on it, sometimes you want to perfect the music. You want to go out and then you feel that the album is not ready, and then you hold on a bit, keep changing things. I'm a stickler for perfection, and I'm feeling very good. It's sounding phenomenally great.
Since that single that you released, AmaNazaretha, how has it been doing on the airplays?
Well, I haven't been following airplays because we've only now released it digitally. I shall be following it. Hopefully, if the lockdown is over, one can be able to visit radio stations and see what's going on there.
Why decide to release a single while you're still in studio working on a full album?
Nowadays, it's better to release, to have people have a taste of what's coming. In fact, I'm not only working on the AmaNazaretha album, but also I'm working on yet another album which I started 2 years ago, which features a lot of South African artists. Joseph Shabalala, when he was still alive, I worked on a song with him, with Ladysmith Black Mambazo, and a few other artists. Which, as I said, I started it 2 years ago, and hopefully we'll be going on tour with it. It's called Vintage, which is like a journey of my life from childhood as a musician, starting to play the guitar at 11, and all the influences that I've had, from the Beatles to the Rolling Stones to Wes Montgomery to Mahalia Jackson to Quincy Jones to Mahlatini and Ntombi Zesimanje Manje Namahotela Queens, to Brasilo, Hugh Masekela, the Dark City Sisters. The album just covers the whole spectrum, the journey of my musical life. And once the lockdown is over, we will release that one. It's called Vintage, Mbongeni Ngema.
Now, speaking of journey of your musical, life, talk to us about the spiritual side of you that many of us didn't know about you, that has influenced you to put together a gospel album.
Well, I was born, brought up and raised up in the Nazareth Baptist Church, popularly known as the Shembe Church. And that's been a journey of my life spiritually. And I decided to pay tribute to the Baptist Church, the Nazareth Baptist Church, with this album. And in fact, most of the lyrics from the album are extracted from the gospel publication from the church itself, which was scripted in 1910 by the prophet Isaiah Shembe himself, who invented the church, who we call Umqali Wendlela.
So for those who may not necessarily be familiar with the Nazareth Church way of doing things, do you want to take us through, the form and the shape of this gospel, this gospel track? Is it perhaps a worship song, or is it just a praise song?
It is one of those lyrics that were extracted from the Nazareth prayer book. And then I've just put in musical arrangements around it to make it for people who are familiar with my music so that they can identify with my sound. But literally, the lyrics are extracted from the worship book itself.
So any plans for a tour once the lockdown is over to promote this album?
Absolutely. As I say, both albums, Vintage and AmaNazaretha, I'm planning to have a tour once the lockdown is over. And I've been talking to my counterparts, promoters in Europe as well, later on in the year, hopefully, or if not, next year to do a European tour.
So for those who want to have a taste of the full album through this single, how do they go about downloading it?
At the moment, you can find it on YouTube. You can just go to YouTube, Mbongeni Ngema, AmaNazaretha, and you will find it.
All right. Mr. Ngema, we certainly hope to have you again when you've launched your full album on the show. Great chatting to you this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
That was Mbongeni Ngema talking to us about his single titled AmaNazaretha, and is also working on an album to be released later on in the year.